Hi there, and thank you for clicking on this video. Um, I get asked a lot about like any updates to like my daily driver setup, so this is going to be a combination of talking about some permanent adjustments to my daily driver setup, as well as it's not necessarily a new type of priming, but just a new consistent setup. It's not min maxed. We're going to talk about a couple different guns. The long and the story short of it is, for those that clicked, run two green shards, pretty basic, allows you to full strip. That's not new. And just kind of ignoring viral. The loss in your damage based on the enemy's damage reduction, regardless of their armor value, um, is such a significant boost to what your damage is that it doesn't, in terms of a min max setting. So we're not talking about min max. This is consistency. But in terms of general gameplay, it's significantly more important. We're going to be using an encumber setup on all of these. I'm going to show, give or take, what it is. We're using the Cyanex. So 200 steel path. We do have velocity on. See the 11th. Corrosive stack. We are not running a high damage setup. Alright, we got Galv stack on multi-shot and on base damage. Now you can see like the damage is increased. And one more multi-shot stack. Alright. So even on this not very min-maxed setup, the strip on itself is causing such a high damage increase that in terms of like casual, consistent play, and with how flexible the shards still are, we don't have too many builds so far where shards, like, you have to equip 5 specific shards to get something to work. Most of the time, just from basic modding, you can hit the power numbers that you need to. Literally, unless, I don't know, I'm trying to think in terms of like something specific. Maybe like a 400% strength Hildren. You would need like 5 red towels to be able to consistently hit that on a very min-max setup. And you're sacrificing a bunch for it, right? That being said, this is a very just basic setup. Obviously, using a Riven here, but it's corrosive, galvanized diffusion, galvanized shot, CCCD, and heat with encumber. You do not need this setup in order to be able to do what I just did. And on some weapons, that actually works out being a little bit better. And I'll show that here. And we do have velocity on. Alright, we got our stacks. So the Cyanex is an okay example. Let's talk about a better example. And we'll talk about, so 2 greens are giving us the strip, or allowing corrosive to full strip. The heat, or whatever element you're using, like if you want to go electric, there's always like the hystrix right? Where you can anything where you can select a quill, even if you're running full corrosive, like a massive corrosive weighting, you can still get that electric proc back, right? Um, Even with some very basic setups, this is in terms of just like general use. I have almost permanently swapped most of my frames to two regular green shards, and I will probably be doing this to the rest of my frames. Um, so in terms of the build is pretty simple. Your galvanized multi-shot, galvanized damage, encumber, corrosive 60/60s, fire rate if the weapon needs it, and CCCD obviously with the OcuCore. Our CC is coming from Sentient Surge. If you don't have Sentient Surge, I would say use a different weapon. Um, because even with this, with no Riven, the kill rate is very, very strong. Once we get stacks, of course. And it's on an encumber build, which I'm always really fond of because the damage is consistent. Like it's obviously not going to be as strong as like a massively weighted corrosive build, right? If you for whatever reason you want to do like a really massive corrosive weighting, say you got like a Riven or something like that, like a single Tau green with like corrosive projection will allow you to naturally shred a crap ton of armor while maintaining the bonuses to corrosive. But if you're doing, I don't know, anything dealing with like level caps or something like that, or you're thinking about doing like a long circuit run, obviously stay away from that. Just go for full strip. It's the easiest way to do it. Um, for the Demolist player or people who do long disruptions, there is actually a bit of a correct answer. If you want to incorporate this, and the main reason why I'm talking about this is because it frees up for sacrificing two shards, which are still not necessarily set in stone in terms of what you equip on a frame. Um, and I would say most people, myself included, tend to use 5 to 6 frames. So getting two greens that are two regular greens on 5 to 6 of your regularly played frames um, is, now that we're a couple weeks into the Netra cell rotations, I wouldn't say is too much of an ask. And if you were somebody that kept up with the call missions, admittedly I was not, you're probably sitting on a shit ton of shards right now. And this would allow you to get something out of those unranked ones, at least until we get the ability to combine them and turn them into towels. Maybe split off a couple and make some greens in pairs of two. Because this is a super comfy regular damage amount. Even when you're modding against like Corpus, it still gets rid of the enemy's armor. The only thing that it's gonna not necessarily full strip, if you will, is gonna be stuff where it's like status capped. So like Archons, Acolytes, stuff like that, where it caps how many statuses are on it. In order to strip an Acolyte, you're gonna need way more green shards, but you can full strip an Acolyte. I am not sure about an Archon, but I know you can do it with an Acolyte. I've done that. But incorporating this into the daily driver setup, this is just like a casual update. Let's talk about the Demolist priming, because there is sort of a correct answer. Here we go. Okay. So this is going to be sort of like our Demolist primer. Encumber setup again. We're trying to get those galvanized stacks super high. Sure shot We're not trying to do damage with this. It's just a primer, perpetual agony, barrel diffusion, gunslinger, and anemic agility. Um, and we did do, for a very specific reason, the compressa, because it has innate viral on it. You mod for corrosive, and then because we're trying to use this as a primer, we're actually going to mod for cold, because heat, the hanging element, if you will, um, isn't really providing damage unless you're doing like a heat inherit build. The fact is that in terms of direct bonus to your primary, or maybe your melee or whatever you're using as the damage dealing weapon, cold provides a damage boost, right? So does puncture. So between both of them, you'll get crit chance and crit damage. So cold is actually boosting while providing a status proc. Is actually providing a damage increase as well. So that's the reason behind that choice. If you want heat, like, and it's just pure logic, right? You can pick heat if you want, but it's just being a status proc. Unless you're doing a heat inherit build, in which case, do the heat 60/60 with the primed heated charge and a faction mod. So you're going to know how to build for that. But if you're using this as just a regular status primer, this gives you the biggest raw damage increase, not considering special cases. So again, 200 exos. It's a real quick strip. 2 rows. We can RNG, we can make it look neat. And get down to the 4th row. There we go. Something hit 10. So 10 stacks of viral, 14 stacks of corrosive, and the rest of it is just gravy. So we can see what something like this would look like. Let's get our stacks up. Little baby 38 on the Nataruk. 49. So just from weapon damage alone, yeah, I actually have a crit chance on secondary red Tau shard, but just from the multiplicative CO, the base damage increase, this gives me as many statuses as possible. The only thing that would count as a negative. So, okay, so the compress is the right answer in terms of priming if you don't want to run an Unaru strip, or you don't want a Helminth on an armor strip, like Theros Strike, right? This gives you the option where it's like, oh, I really want to run Roar, and I really need, like, Protective Dash. But I find, like, full stripping with the Vastalok to be kind of annoying, right? Using Shattering Impact. This is another option because if you're doing a level cap, you're probably using the secondary as the primer. Most people do because of Encumber. Makes it a great primer. In order to maximize your Encumber stacks that you gain, you need Fire Rate, Multi-Shot, and Status Chance are the big contributors to that. Well, the Compressa has all of that, and it also has multiple instances of damage. With Sure Shot, Pistol Pestilence, Jolt, and Frostbite, it brings us to 111 status per projectile, and the multi-shot is like 8.8. So it's a ton of chances for Encumber to stack. The only negative that I would say, and this would be for like a min-maxer, is if you're comfortable full stripping with the Vastalok, The Twin Gricatas is better if you are not trying to full strip with this. Just go viral, right? Because it will vomit out more consistent IPS. Because that is one of the drawbacks for the Compressa, is it has to RNG through encumber procs, 5 puncture procs. Well, if you've got the Twin Gricatas, it's vomiting out so much status chance. You're gonna max all of the statuses that you have on the weapon, and everything else is going to be encumber procs. So you're gonna have a ton of slash procs. Obviously, there's no real cap to that. You're gonna max your puncture. You're gonna max your impact. If you're doing cold, like a corrosive cold setup, cold's gonna be maxed. Corrosive's gonna be maxed. Um, any IPS you equip on there and elements are going to be maxed if they do have a max, and if they don't, you're going to have a bunch of waiting in that, right? So, like, if you were to do, like, corrosive cold radiation on the Twin Gricatas, you're going to max all of those stats because they have caps, right? And you would be able to guarantee that you get the max on cold, max on puncture to really maximize your damage. But in terms of ease of use, I can't recommend the Compressa enough. I've even tried like making kit guns. Like, and I'll show you one. Hold on. Here we go. This one would be another one for easy use. Puncture slash cold radiation corrosive. Using the battery mechanic with Pax Charge and Encumber. This is a very, very comfy setup. 45 magazine, 2.7 multi-shot. It's got a little bit of punch through from Seeker to make it more utility oriented. Because we're going to be priming and then immediately swapping and then going back and forth between our primary and secondary. I opted for reflex draw. If you find that kind of annoying, steady hands is always there. It's up to you, right? Just due to the nature of what this setup is, and hold on. Here we go. Rattle Guts, Flutter Fire, Gibber. Tons of fire rate, tons of status chance on a projectile weapon. So the multi-shot counts. We're not dealing with beams. We need chances for the encumber to proc, right? And it doesn't work on a shotgun, right? So no primaries are out. It's got to be a secondary to get an encumber. And we need multi-shot, so beams are out. So that was the logic behind this. It's got base 11 fire rate, which is fantastic, because we're trying to dump a magazine. But this allows you to not worry about like ammo at all. And to be honest, if you are learning how to prime, like how to primer enemies, like you're not comfortable with it, and it's just like you need to not worry about ammo. Right? Like when you run up to something, you need to be able to just dump the magazine into something. Because the gremlins, if you're getting very, very spammy with them, you could potentially run into ammo issues. The Compressa can run into ammo issues if you're actually trying to do damage with it, or you're not really comfortable with priming yet, and maybe you want to do a hybrid build. It's like, oh, I want it to be able to I want it to be able to prime, but I still want it to be able to do damage. This eliminates the worry of having to deal with an ammo economy. Just equip Pax Charge, put Encumber on it, and just go blast some shit. It'll deal really well. Couple hundred levels in, you don't have to worry about much, right? So pretty basic. And let me show you how this does. It doesn't beat the Twin Gremlins, and it certainly doesn't beat the Compressa. But that's not bad. You'll get your cold procs, you'll get your corrosive stacks, you'll get your puncture. It's a decent, comfortable choice, and this is way more reliable and easier to use. That setup is set up specifically for a quick reload, right? The downtime on the battery, if you look, it's really, really quick. You just dump your mag, dump your mag, dump your mag. And even if you're swapping between, like, say, the Nataruk, it's already recharged. So I'm running just like a very, very heavy viral weight. Hardly any status chance besides like the galvanized damage on the Nataruk. It's a big stick, and the primer's the one setting up. The only time I'd really recommend this is if you are trying to get used to priming and you have Fortuna standing done. Solaris United. This is an incredibly comfy option. And this isn't an expensive build. Even with like barrel diffusion, this is a very comfy build. It takes care of ammo, allows you to learn, get the rhythm down, and not worry about ammo economy. So in terms of consistency, I would say potentially this. Because removing the armor, in most cases, having a weapon that's pure viral, like your damage dealing weapon, you can RNG your viral stacks from that, right? So you want the armor strip, and then you can put viral on your main weapon and RNG viral stacks from that. Because the first stack of viral is the big one. So 1 or 2 shot something is pretty decent. The one thing that could potentially be kind of useful would be changing Seeker out for Perpetual Agony. Obviously, that's one single target. But it would allow you to learn and swap out. So we would do Frostbite Jolt. We'll go here. So this would be like a super friendly. Hold on, I think I just lost my. There we go. Corrosive cold radiation. Okay. So this would be like a really, really user-friendly setup. So you could go viral on the primary damage dealer, and this would allow for that armor strip to stay there for a long time. So you'll be able to get your puncture, you'll be able to get your cold. It's heavily weighted corrosive, and everything else is going to be gravy. Right? So this is going to help a ton in terms of learning priming, or say you're on controller, or shit, I'm starting to feel it. Like, if say you're getting kind of old, maybe you are old, still enjoy Warframe, and you just need something that's a little bit easier for you to use. This is a good fucking option. Okay? Very, very casual. It's just not going to be the min-maxed setup, but it is going to be absolutely useful in most circumstances, because with like viral and say like magnetic, the big status bonus is on the first stack, right? 1 stack of viral is plus 100%. 9 stacks, like a little more than doubles your damage, right? So the first stack doubles your damage. The next 9 almost double your damage again. So the first stack's way more important. With magnetic, it's the same thing. The first stack of magnetic doubles your damage to shields. The next 9 little more than double it again, same as viral. So the first stack is a big deal, and that's why one of the things that makes this not pure copium, but it's a really really solid, well-rounded build. So if you're learning how to prime that play style, check out a kit gun that's massively like status weighted. This is the highest one I could find. I even used like a Riven calculator. It's 33% status chance at base. So it's got a ton of status, and it has got a ton of reload on it. So zero point 0.9 packs charge, battery recharge delay is reduced by 50%. So it is a very, very quick prime. So if you're learning Demolus or learning how to do disruption, and you don't want to have to deal with like armor stripping using your abilities, and you just want to calm everything down, make your primary of a viral build. Unless it's like a pure slash setup, like you say you're using the Convectrix. Like, by the way, Efficient Beams was in the Nightwave store. If you didn't get it, probably pretty cheap right now. Unless you're running a very, very heavy like toxin setup or slash setup, this can allow you to learn how to do it in something that's like 9 out of 10 effective. Because you're going to RNG with Encumber 1 viral status. So it's not going to be min-maxed. The Compressa is the one that gives you all the statuses that you need. But in terms of getting statuses the fastest, Twin Gurkatas is where it's at. The fire rate's just too freaking high. Yeah, 64 fire rate. Corrosive, we'll do cold. Yeah, pretty simple little build. We'll go back over to the cheap one. You are going to have to worry about ammo economy a bit. But you'll see how it is. It's a quick little burp that I do. And it's practically going to fill 2 of the status bars. And if you run a synth mod or something like that, anywhere, like even on the pet, that's not bad. So that quick little... Yeah, see, that's not bad. And that's why the Twin Gurkatas is going to win. In terms of statuses applied in a second. So once you get better at like the combo of priming and then swap into your secondary, let me go to a full auto weapon and I'll show you how it's supposed to be. It's very, very simple. I don't know how it is on controller. Alright, so full auto, full auto. Obviously, you're going to spend a little bit more time waiting on the reload. So if you're running around killing with your primary. My synth set is really slow right now. Obviously, you would want to wait into that. So, food for thought. For something like this, I would probably do like a pretty decent viral weight, but it's just pure slash. So I actually don't have viral anywhere on my build right now. It's all galvanized aptitude stacks. So and a Riven, but even without that, I think I have a viral setup for this. Hold on, I'll show that damage too. All right, so heavy, heavy viral weight. Any statuses that I get are going to be RNG'd through fire rate. No faction, that's what's going to go here, or galvanized scope if you want to use the alt fire. And more importantly, no ribbons. So even though we're pure viral, didn't wait long enough. Wait for a little bit more of a reload. So even with that shit combo, it's full auto into full auto. We'll reload. Aim. And I'm going to pull the trigger until the magazine's empty, and then all I'm going to do is hit F. I'm still going to be holding the trigger down. And that's how you would practice. It seems simple enough, but when you're trying to get like your Magus lockdown, get your damage boosts up, because a lot of times you're operating it on a disruption mission. And it's just one less thing to worry about. Actually, it's a couple less things to worry about. Like, you don't have to worry about full stripping. You don't have to worry about, like, combos as much. And this is going to take you really, really far into, like, running in your progress toward, like, a level cap. So, I've been having a good time with these. If you find the fire rate's a little high, because it is kind of absurd, synth set. Not for anything that's up here. It's for the passive, or the set bonus. Holstering primary and secondary weapons, reload 10% of the magazine per second. It's kind of best in slot. And it'll slow the fire rate down a little bit, because the fire rate is pretty nutty. You can also, if you want, just to give it one more status, since we are in the era of... No, not that one. Since we are in the era of murmur mods, throw that on there also. Accelerated isotope. So it'll give you one more status that you don't have to worry about RNGing. And it'll also help you with the ammo economy a little bit. And once it gets to about, say, like 40%, and you're just going to have to figure out your timings for the setup that you're running. Even using the Panzer, for me, normally I run with the Panzer. And that'll help out with the viral stacks. It's also got the third synth mod on here. And that'll fix my ammo issues. Or the ammo and the magazine issues. But just keep in mind this... This burns ammo. So, the money spot for that synth set being usable in the Twin Gurkatas for really, really spamming it really, really quickly you're gonna need like 3 slots. But obviously that's personal preference. But anyway, two corrosive green shards allows you to wildly change up the rest of the build. I've been running this for a couple weeks. I'm not gonna lie, and especially with the compressa, dude, I've been so lazy on stripping and doing like any sort of level cap run. Just 2 green shards, take the compressa. There you are. You get all the fucking stacks, right? And I'm even running damage on it, um, just to get the strip value up. So I got this. I was been using a Riven. Obviously, you would use like a Toxin 6060, which is there. You're obviously not going to have my exact Riven, or if you have a Riven that's identical, you're not going to have one that's got the same exact rolls number wise. So the important part is get your corrosive on here, heat on a fully striped enemy that's Grenier. You get bonus damage or weakness bonus to your heat. So this brings the damage back up a little bit. You also get the damage boost from the viral stacks and from having viral on it. And it's a pretty even weighting, all things considered. 3.3 on the heat, 2 on viral, 2.4 on corrosive. Sort of the same distribution on the radial attack. And just even running around, like, this is still killing on its own. Even though most of the damage comes from the bubbles. And if you run the Compressa, it allows you to not run the Panzer. You can run one of the other Deimos pets or run a different Sentinel. It frees you up from needing to put a full strip on the frame like Helmet Thing went on, or running a Naro, or having to use Shattering Impact on, say, like a Vastalok, which is what I'd recommend you using to full strip. This allows you, if you do the 2 green shards and the Compressa, it'll free up the Focus School. It'll free up maybe a Helminth, depending on what frame you are. Like, say, if you're running Hildren, you would have the option, though you might not want to, but it would enable you to run less than 400% power strength, or running a Corrosive Projection Aura. And say, what is it? 362? Hold on. I'm having a brain fart. $328. Yeah, it wasn't even close. So that would enable you to run less power strength and run a more utility focused setup. So it's a little bit of flexibility, but those are some variations. So just to cover it over again, just 2 corrosive stack shards. We aren't in the area yet where these 5 shards are incredibly locked in yet. Maybe in the future this will be a bigger deal. But the shards are just kind of 100% utility for now. There's nothing make or break about them. And certainly if you do need them for something, they're certainly not tight enough that you have to use all 5. Like, maybe you need to use like 1 for your build. But that means you're still going to have 2 or 3 that are flex, right? So running the 2 opens up some really, really interesting flexibility. And to be honest, because I know you guys ask a lot, I've been putting this shit on everything. It's becoming my new Sriracha. Probably just dated myself with that reference. But yeah, corrosive, heat. If you want to for damage, if you want to use it as a pure primer, you would change out the heat. Change out the heat for cold. So you can get the crit damage boost. Uh, and on, say, like the twin Grakatas, which is, if you're a min-maxer, take that. And full strip with an ability using Cumber, but you probably know that. That's pretty standard. But if you're trying to get something more consistent, more casual, less sweaty, I've been using the Compressa with two green shards to just strip everything. Like it's so middle of the road, lazy and easy, and it's super consistent. Um, I don't even know what to say. Like, just trying to be informative. So it is what it is. Like, it's a pretty basic bitch design, but it absolutely gets the job done. Hold on, I want that. There we go. Back to normal. So it's just, the idea is for consistency. This isn't going to help you really in a min-max setup. What it is going to provide you is, if you, instead of, say, like a perfectly min-max setup is like a 10 out of 10 setup, but it locks most of your build in place. If you knock it down to the 2 shards with the secondary using the Compressa, or say like that kit gun, you can get like a 9 out of 10 experience and have a ton of flexibility and not rely on stripping anything else. So, PSA, little bit of a rant, but I hope this helps. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. This is a little bit more of a rant than I wanted, and to be honest, probably could have done like a slideshow with 5 slides, but this is the logic behind it. If you're min-maxing, continue with your full strip. You probably know that the twin Grakatas is the way to fucking go. Just obviously mod for viral. If you want, or you can do corrosive, you're gonna have to be able to get the figure out whether you want to put cold on the twin Grakatas or put viral. You probably want viral. And just RNG a couple cold procs. But with this corrosive cold, you can get the viral from bullet hosing on the main weapon if you're doing like a raw damage build, in which case you don't give a shit. You're pumping 30, 40, 50 rounds into something anyway, unless you're doing for a one shot. Oh, hold on, a one shot. Just to show how potent it is. Good old Queller. Everybody loves the Queller. Not that. Sure. Oh, and all right. Viral, heavy weighting, crit delay, galvanized scope, galvanized chamber, galvanized aptitude, crit damage, faction damage, primary deadhead, basic bitch shit. On the Compressa, Panzer, standard stuff. Hold on, let me go over to the status one. The Riven's making it kill everything. Yeah, okay, here we go. Perpetual Agony, Corrosive, Viral Cold, with Anemic and Gunslinger. No damage whatsoever. This is pure primer. And even then, the Compressa on its own with a full strip setup can comfortably go 2k, 3k plus. Oh man, if I was faster, I could get the scope stacked up. Anyway, I think I hit about 200 mil. Wasn't firing fast enough to get the galvanized scope stacked up, but decent damage anyway. This is sort of the ideal build. Obviously, you can min-max it further depending on like rivens and stuff like that. But secondary encumber's the big thing. The Compressa, this is my go-to. Corrosive, viral, cold, encumber, anemic agility, regular sure shot, perpetual agony is a big fucking plus. If you want to maybe tone back on the fire rate, though I do enjoy it. Synth should go here. Because you really only need like 2 to 3 shots to full strip with the Compressa, in all honesty. And it's super consistent. And we'll leave it with this. 3 shots, stripped. Yeah, 217 million, 139 million, 159 million. It's normal queller things. Probably take off galvanized scope though. Looks like a riven slot to me. The charge rate's way too slow. So maybe you do, I don't know, shit, do more crit damage, right? Probably fervor. Just get a little bit of attack speed on there to get that charge shot down. But anyway, if you're min-maxing that much, you probably know how to min-max it further. And it'd be to taste. I'd have to test it out, see exactly what's going on, and what kind of damage I want to do. Obviously, with the numbers that you were seeing, with something like a Mirage Eclipse boost, like that is well above level or damage cap. Even with just like a standard primary damage, because with this it's deadhead, right? You could also run other stuff like say on the bows, you have longbow sharp shot. You can get some pretty fucking nutty numbers out of that. Especially if you're running, say, like a revenant, and you've got like the one augment where you can get a base damage increase on your primary, or say like a chroma where you got that base damage. You can get some pretty nutty numbers out of this. But that's further min-maxing. The build works on its own. The Nataruk was hitting for like 60 to 70 million. I got the Cinta up to like just over 100. Queller. I was able to RNG with galvanized scope. Was able to RNG 1 red with that little 5% boost, and hit 699 million. And that's pure weapon damage. So the method's effective. Use the viral as like a big stick on your primary damage dealer. And it's just PSA over. So if you watch this far, thank you for watching. This is a little bit more of a rant than I wanted, but we're at about 50 minutes, so I'm going to call it. 2 corrosive shards and the Compressa, and anything is possible. And it opens up a shit ton of flexibility and everything else. And that is my update on my daily driver setups. And it's not just like Ninja, I've been putting it on other things. So, anyway, take it easy, guys. Later.